So I first realized I had a community around me when I was about 12. It was 2 a.m. and I was crawling across the roof of our woodshed so I could get into my bedroom window and, of course, sneak back in bed. And when I got through the window, my mom was there and she wasn't happy. How in the world had my mom found out that I was out of the house? As it turns out, she'd heard very quickly from the community of Dorset that I was out. Now, Dorset is a great town because you know everyone. And Dorset's a terrible town because you know everyone. Well, my friend Doug Tarbell and I had put together this fail-safe plan. We were 12. Our parents didn't want us riding his dirt bike around on the street. We were only allowed to go round and round in circles behind his house. They said they were afraid of us getting hit by a car. So, being smart, we decided we'd go out on the streets when there were no cars, middle of the night, right? So we thought we were being safe. As it turns out, many people in Dorset were trying to sleep that night, and they knew exactly who we were. So this is the kind of small town where everybody pitched in. I didn't know that at the time, but if there was a school board meeting, everybody showed up at the gym, made sandwiches, cooked stuff, participated, raised their hand, voted against, voted for. People bake things. So we also had events like the Dorset Antique Fair. And there were some antiques, and there was a lot of junk that people brought. But the point being that people turned out, planned. It didn't matter what social group, what religion, what part of town they were from. Everybody just showed up, worked together for weeks preparing, and then on that day, everybody contributed to the fair, and it was fun. It was great. But the fair's not going on anymore. So this was also a town where everybody cared about everybody else. If there was somebody in town with some family with some kind of issue, I mean, people just showed up and helped out. So over the years, slowly and quietly, that sense of community has been disappearing. And you folks that might be a bit older could probably look back to communities that you were in where that may have, that collaboration may have been disappearing. And you mentioned the upswing. So Robert Putnam wrote The Upswing, and he also wrote a book called Bowling Alone, which is great, which was about like the reasons why. And I didn't know at the time what was going on. I wasn't paying attention. But in retrospect, that's some great stuff, both Bowling Alone and The Upswing, which is some hope. So fast forward, in 2009, my wife and I sold everything, and we bought a boat, and we left Lake Champlain to have adventures on a sailboat with our 6-month-old daughter, Isabel. So in our planning and vision boards, we saw all these places we'd go, pictures of the adventures we'd have, and all that planning was the thought that the three of us would be kind of alone in the world on adventure and alone on the ocean in adventure, exploring. So it wasn't but a week or two into the adventure that we had our first surprise in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. We'd sailed down the Hudson River and crossed Raritan Bay, where we got this glimpse out at the Atlantic Ocean, which was pretty scary. And we went into Atlantic Highlands to buy groceries and whatnot. And the anchor was barely down, and this boat comes over, and this couple asked us if we wanted to come over for dinner. And we were like, they're strangers like asking us for dinner? This is kind of crazy. I'm really glad we accepted the invitation. It didn't take us long to realize that we were, that was normal. That was normal in that cruising community. And so over the next 7.5 years, we would arrive in hundreds of different bays around the world. And we were instantly members of that community. Instantly, we belonged without question. We shared schooling our kids, fixing our boats, exploring cities and villages in these strange countries. Quickly, we realized that we could count on these people in this like dynamic, ever-changing community. And again, not the same people in every bay, a different group in every bay, yet when you arrived, you were instantly part of that group. And these were people from different countries, religions, social backgrounds, and economic strata. So in late 2016, there were some events that happened in the US. It made us realize it was time to end our adventure and come back where we could contribute to something here in the US. And we explored many places to live and finally realized we wanted to come back to Vermont. Of course, there are lots of things about Vermont that attracted us, including wintertime, and I'm serious about that. We miss that. But mostly it was the culture, the sense of community, and the people. So I was very interested in seeing if I could bring the connectedness, the commitment to others of that cruising community into some kind of work here in Vermont. I also wanted to pull on that same thread that connected everyone in my childhood town, which was in southern Vermont. Could I use technology to connect people? Like really, not like the current kind of fake social media, which shouldn't be called social. So I conceived of this digital marketplace where people in communities could discover what's around them and buy things. I didn't want just to create just another app. I wanted to facilitate the connection and bonds between people. So of course, the way to build that technology company was to create a community, which is amazing and in place today. I'm part of this group of 16 people who all have that same commitment to Vermont. And that commitment is to connect people and elevate brands and stores that are in Vermont. Geez, I've got to talk faster or something. But the story's not over. That should, that would be the end of the story, and probably should have been. But what I'm realizing, and thanks actually to Dan for helping me and talking to some of my other team members, is that it's really the stories of these people at all these different businesses and brands that make the difference. That you wouldn't believe the energy and passion that people put into their businesses here in Vermont. And so part of what we're doing at Myti now that we figured out the technology end is now we need to tell those stories. Now we need to really connect people shopping for shoes to places like Queen City Footwear that make amazing shoes. But it isn't the shoe that's amazing. It's the story of Matt who created the shoe. My wife says I shouldn't take off my shoes in public, but I live barefoot on a sailboat. Come on. So I can skip that. And there's also Fortitude is right, half mile from here on Pine Street. 4T2D. They make clothing here in Burlington, and they teach people to sew. And that's the kind of story. It's like they're committed to bringing back that industry to Burlington. So do you want to be part of that movement of listening to the stories and helping people keep our money in the local communities? And so if you're interested in that, check out Myti.com and social media and all that kind of stuff, which hopefully how it works. That's not my job. I do have people on the team that know that. So anyway, if you want to be part of that media, check us out. Because the people in our communities really need to know each other. That's like fundamental. And we can do this by sharing our stories like we're doing tonight. And once we know each other, we can be together. And I think you said, together we are mighty. And that's where we have to go. Thank you all.